please. Good morning to Jacob's in the room, and Kai's in the room, and Oak's in the room, and maybe some people will join us during the lesson, and others may be watching the replay if we get it up. We had a bit of trouble getting the last one up, but always be looking. It's on the news on the homepage under News Forum, and I'll show you later on when I actually open up the LMS, the learning management system. That's what I call it, the LMS. Last lesson on Tuesday, we looked at some number stuff. We were still looking at number, and we did that Galaxy activity that was on the Module B website, basically, or underneath the Module B icon. And some of you may have come to class on Wednesday with Jacob and I, and you'll know that on Wednesday, one of the main things that Jacob was talking about was angles. So my lesson today is going to be talking about angles and having a look at the learning management system, your Module B stuff, so that we can get the most out of it for us. So I'm not actually doing the lesson 3. Our focus for my support group would have been the number stuff that I did on Tuesday and doing the mathematics tasks. And then today we're going to take a look at the topic of geometry, and that's all about shapes and angles. Okay, so if you look on under lesson 4, so this is where I am today, and this is where I need you to go. So if you can open this up on your screen, but you need to find lesson 4, and we're looking at classifying and measuring angles. And the learning intention, therefore, in this lesson is to be able to classify angles and maybe even measure them. I'm not sure whether you have a protractor at home, very hard to do when we're putting things up on the screen. Jacob, do you have a, I don't know, what did you use the other day to measure angles on the screen?
I just used an image of a protractor.
Okay, so it's just
the angle behind it.
Okay.
Did you want me to get the slides that I had last lesson?
No, it's okay, because I assume that's what you did, and I thought, oh, I could play around with that, but I want the kids to be able to measure them, and of course, they can go back and have a look at your lesson to be able to do that, so that's fine. Just coming back to my screen over here, we want to identify the different parts of an angle. We really just want to know what the angle is. We can use a protractor and classify angles. Now, I know that on Wednesday, Jacob talked about acute angles, right angles, and obtuse angles, but there's other angles as well that some students brought up, and we might get to that as well. So are you able to see this up on your screen, as in your screen at home? Because underneath all of that, you'll see that there's a video that looks like this. So I'm just going to swap into that screen at the moment. So you can see my screen. I don't think there's anything on there that you shouldn't be seeing. You can see that I've got 3 messages up the top that I need to answer. That's how I know. Welcome, Charlotte. Charlotte, I've just been talking about what we're doing today, which is looking at lesson 4 of your angles work. So this is taken directly from going on to Module B and going into Module B week 1. I'll just show you again so you can see all of this on the screen. This is, well, stop that. This is where you'll find, under the news forum, where you'll find all our videos, math support class, online lessons, little tips and things that Jacob's put up. But this is mainly for you, Charlotte, because I know that you're new. You would have clicked on here to get onto your online lesson, and we are working on Module B, and we are coming to the end of week 1, and I'm looking now, being the Friday, I'm looking at lesson 4, which is a bit of a repeat of Wednesday's lesson with Jacob. We're just going to revisit this classifying and measuring angles. So if you click on this, there is a little video here. Now, I started to watch this little video. Has anybody jumped into this and watched it yet? I suspect it'll be a no. Yeah, I suspect it'll be a no. And one of the things that I want to do is actually point out to you that the resources that we actually have. So we looked at some of these things on Tuesday. I'm not really interested in this stuff here for my support kids, but what I am interested today is we did a little bit of number on Tuesday and a little bit of angles today. So I'm guessing if I press play on this, you don't hear it. Let me know. And I don't even want I'm just going to jump to 26 seconds. Right. So he was talking then. Can you hear that? No, I didn't think so. Are you able to go onto your module B and press play on the video? And I want you to come in at about 30 seconds and I'll just run it as well. And we're going to watch about the first 4 minutes of it. So are people able to find that? Because it's no good if we have all these resources for you to look at and you're not watching them or you're not using them. So I'd really like you to get in there and have a look. So give me a yes when you've got it up on your screen and just jump to 31 seconds because your rabbit's on a little bit at the start. And we're going to watch about the first 4 minutes. Can I get a yes when people have managed to find it?
Kerry, you can send out the link and they can find it that way.
I need them to be able to find it to be able to navigate the
All right.
Module B site themselves. Yeah. So I don't want to be sending them links because we have stuff there. And the idea is that you work through, well, I would expect kids to be working through lessons 1 to 4, unless they're coming to support. And then I'll specifically be telling you which ones to do.
Yeah.
So I need you to go to lesson 4, classifying and measuring angles, and find that video that I have up on the screen. I'm just waiting to see Oak, Kai, and Charlotte, whether you've been able to source that, find it. Yes, says Kai. Okay. Well done, Kai. If we sort of press play at the same time. Yes, says Oak, fabulous, and Charlotte. I'm not sure because I know you're new and whether you know how to navigate it, but hopefully you've found Module B and you've jumped to lesson 4 and you can see what I have on my screen. So I'll just get you to join along, but I'm going to press play and we're going to go for about the first 4 minutes. So I might stop you sometimes to talk about things. And if I say stop, can you pause on your video? And hopefully there's no lag. Okay, let's watch. Okay, I don't know whether you can stop that now. He was talking about degrees and radians. Certainly radians is, you don't really learn about radians unless you do year 11 maths, but it's just another way that they measure angles. But we measure angles using degrees and using a protractor. Okay, can we just pause that for a tick? I don't even know, I can't get back in. Stop that. Here we go. If we can just stop that for a minute, please. Has everyone stopped and with me? And I'm just going to make it bigger again. We classify angles according to their size. So I'm just going to come back to these ones and I can annotate now, and I'm going to be using a pencil. Anyone know the name given to the angle that's in between 0 and 90 degrees? So any angle that's in between, every time I press, he's going to keep talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Every time I draw on him, he's going to want to start talking again. Coming back to this angle. Something that's between 0 and 45. What do we call an angle between 0 and 40? Sorry, an angle between 0 and 90 degrees. It has a special name. If you were there on Wednesday, certainly Jacob was mentioning it. Acute, yeah. So anything between 0 and 90. So one of the skills I want you to be able to have is just to recognise the type of angle and to maybe be able to estimate. So you'll notice he didn't use a protractor to draw this. So he says it's about 45 degrees, and it's probably about right. Might be a little bit higher, but that's close enough. What do we call this one? Where the lines are perpendicular to each other, that is, they cross here. They form this angle here, but what do we call this sort of angle at 90 degrees? Anything with a 90 degrees angles? Kai says obtuse. You'll find, Kai, that this one here is obtuse. So an obtuse angle is somewhere greater than 90. So I come around here, greater than 90 degrees, but it's got to be less than 180. So it's somewhere in here. So this one here is obtuse. So what was this one? Probably the most common angle that you've heard of, I would suggest. Yeah, it's a right angle. And we usually show a right angle with little squares in the corner. So this rectangle here is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles. So it leads me to ask, what is the total sum of the angles in this rectangle? If I was to add them all up, what would I get? Hi, Emma. No worries. I'm partway through the lesson. You can come back and watch the beginning. I'm just asking, what would be the sum of the angles? If this is a rectangle, it certainly looks like a rectangle. We decided that they must be 90 degrees in each corner. What would be the sum? Yeah, 360 degrees. So that works for any four-sided straight shape. So a square will have a sum of 360 degrees because it too will have four right angles. So that's another skill that we'll be looking at. So this one's acute, this one's right, this one's obtuse because it's between 90 and 180. And what do we call it when it's all the way across like that? What's the name given to this one? The hint's given in the shape of it, I suppose, when you're looking at the line. What sort of line would we call that? Yeah, a straight. It's a straight angle. So they're the ones. I'm going to close off that video now. You can certainly go back and have a look at it, but it can get a little bit complex. So I'm only 3 minutes into it, but I'll leave that for you to have a look at. But I do want you to be able to recognise acute angles, right angles, obtuse angles, and straight angles for starts. Okay, underneath that, you will find a game. Should only take you a couple of minutes. I'd like you to press Start Game and have a go. In case you haven't got it up, I'll show you what it looks like, but my time has started as soon as I press that and I can't quite see all the bits. But if you press on that and have a go at the game, and then we'll see whether I can play the one that I have on my screen. I'll give you a minute. Do you? Well, you can take as long as you like, Emma. Don't worry about the timer. I mean, if I move it up, it's not even being timed. So the whole idea is that we seem to have some words here, and I need to match them up with some symbols. Some there we might not have discussed already. Some look like it's been a bit chopped off. I'm not sure whether yours looks the same as mine or whether it dishes out a different task each time. If you've had a go at it and matched it all up, you can't find it. We're on lesson 4, Emma. So I'm in module B in week 1, and I'm looking at lesson 4. Oak and Charlotte and Kai, have you managed to find it and play it? Yep. Cool. All right, I'm just going to give it another, I don't know, little bit of time. Done. Thanks, Oak. So just again, reiterating what I said before, the reason why I'm doing this is to show you that there is stuff there that you should be working through and having a look at under my direction though. All right, there's some things that I think you might find confusing, but there's certainly some things that I want you to be able to do. So today you'll get, this is our task today, and I'm going to finish it up with some mathematics tasks as well. All right, you should be able to see my screen. Okay, so vertex. What do I mean by vertex? It's pretty hard to try and, in fact, I don't want to start with that one. I'm going to start with an acute angle. So, as I scroll across, which one of these? I actually see 2 acute angles here, don't I? I see one here. That looks like it's less than 90 degrees. And I see one here. So I'm wondering which one you chose and why. It'd be quite understandable if you got this one wrong. I think they want me to choose this one because it's actually showing the angle in here, and I can see that it's acute. Oh, maybe didn't like that. Ah, go figure. Why couldn't I have chosen that one? How bizarre. I would have thought it was right as well. I'm going to choose another one. So when I have choices like this, I like to start off with the easy ones, what I think is easy. So I would have recognised this one as straight. It's 180 degrees all the way across. And as I got it right, it disappears. Now a full rotation to mean to go around in a whole circle. And there's 360 degrees an entire circle. So a full rotation should be that one. A right angle. Even though I'm missing the bottom part here, I can see this little square here. So that implies to me that it's a right angle and it's disappeared. So I've got 2 left. So a vertex. A vertex just means where the 2 lines or rays meet. So the vertex is like a corner. So I can see here, I think they're pointing to the corner. Leaves me with an angle that we haven't talked about yet, and it's a reflex angle. So this reflex angle is more than 180 degrees. So they're tricky to measure unless you have a 360 protractor, or you need to think about a way that you could measure it. If I just had the, turn my annotate on, if I just had, your typical protractor of 180 degrees, how would I use that to measure a reflex angle? Any suggestions? Because a reflex angle is greater than 180. It's got this extra bit on. What could I do to measure this one here if I didn't have a circular one? Because it's probably a little bit easier with a circular protractor. If we remember that a whole circle is 360 degrees, and what I've got in this particular case is they're telling me that that part there is 200 degrees. So if I have 200 on that side, what must I have on this side? A whole circle is 360 degrees. If I have 200 degrees on one side, what must I have on the other side? Emma, Kai, Oak, or I seem to have lost Charlotte. 160. Well done, Emma. You're correct. Because I have to add them up to 360, don't I? So if I know that there's 200 on this side, I take 200 away from 360 and I end up with 160 on that side. So maybe if I had got my protractor instead and measured this side and measured it to be 160, that'd be a lot easier because now I know the other side must be 200. And really, and I've noticed that Mathletics doesn't do this all the time either, they should be telling you which side that you want. So they've got it here. They're showing the arc, if you like, what they want you to measure between here and here. But sometimes it's not clear whether they want one side of the angle or the other side. So if I said, oh, what's that angle? You don't know whether I'm asking you for this side or the other side. So I'd need to show you which angle I'd want you to make. What sort of angle have I drawn here? Going back to our names, is it acute, obtuse, right, or straight? And we've even looked at a reflex now. What sort of angle have I drawn here? Going back to the names, your choices are acute, obtuse, right, or straight. Oak said obtuse, and I totally agree with you. Somewhere between 90 and 180. So it's one of the skills I want you to be able to have is to be able to estimate the size of an angle. Oak, if you had to guess how big that was without measuring it, what might you say? Or and anyone else in the room, how big do you think that angle might be? 135? Looks pretty good to me, Oak. So if I sort of think about that sort of being a right angle and some, 135 would not be an unreasonable estimate. So what you're sort of saying here, I can't get that. It sort of work. That's about a 45-degree angle is what you're suggesting there, which makes sense. Okay, so you've done your little quiz, and I need to turn off the annotate so I can click. And there's a video on the next page on how to use a protractor. So one of the skills I want you to be able to have is to be able to use a protractor. Because it'll have audio and things on it, one of your jobs to do after this lesson is to watch that video. So that video goes for, I'm not sure, going to go for 2.5 minutes or nearly 3 minutes. So I'd like you to watch that video so that you know. And if you go back to Wednesday's lesson with Jacob, he also showed you how to use a protractor. And down here, you'll see that there is a worksheet. And if I click on that, thinking, up comes a worksheet. And so the only way that you're going to be able to do this is if you actually print it out and use a protractor to measure. So having said before, we should always show which angle we want. None of these do. I hate it when it does that. Hang on. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I need to turn off my annotate. I'll just go back to the other screen. Go away. Going back to this one. Sorry about that. All right. I was going to put my annotate on. This one here, it doesn't say. So it shouldn't be assumed. But I want you to measure that angle. So you need to tell me the size. So whatever it is, and it probably looks about 135 degrees again, oak, when we seem to like that one. And the type is therefore obtuse. So obtuse, you'd write obtuse in here. So one of your jobs would be to complete this sheet. And I'd get you to complete that by hand and email that back to me. Okay? So print it out. This one here, I want this angle. I want this angle. I need to turn off my annotate in order to scroll. Here, I want this angle, and this angle. Excuse me while I cough. Sorry about that. So one of the things I want you to be able to do is measure angles. People think they'll be able to print that out and complete that task. You will need a protractor. If you don't have one, head out to your local newsagents or your Officeworks or something like that, but most of you have one hiding at home. Okay, in order to practice those skills, I'm just going to close this down. All right, you'll see the solutions to the worksheet anyway. All right, what I'm going to do now is share this screen with you, I hope. Here we go. So you should now see on my screen your Mathletics page. Can I get a yes on that one, please? You can see the Mathletics? Yep, great. This is the exercise I want you to do. It doesn't actually say what it is up there, but it is, I've got it written down here, B1. So you need to find B1, B1, lesson 4. Okay, B1 lesson 4 has 3 Mathletics activities in it, and they're the 3 that I would like you to do this week. Okay, so your tasks from today is to watch the 2 videos, to complete the worksheet and show me that you can measure an angle, and to complete these 3 activities. B1 because we're in Module B, Week 1, and we're looking at Lesson 4, and it's only these 3 that I want you to do. So I'll know when you've done them. I'll get onto Mathletics and I'll have a look at your ones from last week as well. Any questions from Emma, Kai and Oak? No? Hopefully that reinforced some of the work that Jacob did on Wednesday. So my focus today was about the names or the classifying the angles, that we can measure angles and that we estimate the size of them. I actually suggest that you estimate the size before you measure it to make sure that it makes sense. All right, it's 10:46, so I'm going to leave it there and wish you all a nice weekend. Jacob will be back on Monday. I'll be in the class as well, and I will be supporting that with some extra work on Tuesday and Friday of next week.
Bye.
So
Oh,
thanks for coming along. No worries. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you on Monday with Jacob. Thanks,
bye.
Jacob.
Bye, guys.
Bye. And you can end the lesson. Thank you,
Yep,
Jacob.
I'm doing that.
Fabulous.